Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the sesh. And on this week's episode of Max Mosley's Flying Circus, it's the Danksgiving special because we've both been too busy fucking traveling around for holidays and whatnot to actually get down and record one of these episodes in a while. So we're going to be covering Qatar and Saudi Arabia in this episode. I'm your host, Braveheart, here as always with my co-host, my best friend, my partner in crime, Taylor Surreal. And Bud, it's been an interesting couple weekends.
Yes, it has. Especially this last one.
Yeah, I think most of us would, or most of us Max fans would rather the last two weekends not gone how they have. But as much as I've said I want the title to come down to the last race, it's like, look, I'm already a Browns fan. I have, cardiac issues as a result. And this is not good for my health. I was talking to Taylor because, I didn't watch the race live. I watched the race that evening. Same day, just later on in the evening. And I watched quali and the race back to back. And I don't think I ever actually released that video, but it was a 5-stop strategy for me that day. And then watching the race in that state was interesting, to say the least. Just like watching on this TV, like, what the fuck is going on? I was so confused.
And I had contacted you asking if you had seen it. I didn't want to give away any spoilers, but I was itching to discuss this with somebody because I was watching it relatively live. Like, I chimed in about 30 minutes in, but I went back to the beginning. And I'm sitting here, like, freaking out. I need to talk to somebody about this, but I had nobody to talk to because you hadn't watched it yet, and I couldn't spoil it. But I just left it at this is arguably the craziest race of the year.
Yes, it was. Let's start it off, though, with the one that we basically skipped because I was way too tired to actually record an episode. Qatar, I'll admit, I watched the race in 30. It was pretty fucking boring. We both, we double goose egged that one, so...
double goose egg and a boring race all together.
So we'll just read off the Hamilton P1, Verstappen P2. Alonso, it was cool seeing Fernando on the podium, I will say that. P3, Checo P4, and Ocon P5. Ocon's been in the top 5 last 2 weeks. Pretty good for him.
He's not doing bad, yeah.
No. But let's get on to the most bonkers ass race, I think, of the season.
I'd say so. In my book. By
far.
Oh,
absolutely. Hamilton P1, if you ask me, a very undeserved P1, but a P1.
Right.
Verstappen got totally fucked.
Totally fucked.
For P2. Bottas basically just stole P3 from Ocon, which I want to be like,
right, the last second.
That was the point where it's like, and Bottas passes Ocon for third. I'm like, fuck this. I just turned it off. I was so pissed off because I had Valtteri P4. I'm like, ugh.
Yep.
I was so mad. Fuck you, Valtteri. To whom it may concern, fuck you.
He was laughing his ass off as he crossed that line.
Fuck him. And then, we had Ocon P4 and Danny Rick P5. So, like, Max crashing in qualifying. Okay, let's talk about the Predictors Championship. I gained back 5 points this week, avoiding the double goose egg that Taylor did not avoid. So, you're going to have 2 Golden Cock Award things pop up in your... on the corner of your window this week.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like humiliating you. But I got 5 points for picking Lewis Hamilton to get pole. I want to point out, I wanted that to happen, but like I thought it was going to be Mercedes engineering wizardry that got the job done, not Max going on probably the fucking lap of the year Like, what would have been probably the most defining qualifying performance in F1 history? Just the ultimate,
Last
like,
second.
the ultimate, like, Dikembe Mutombo, not in my house moment.
No,
like,
no.
yeah, he's part Belgian. He speaks French. No, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it should have been, but it wasn't.
I
And I'm
couldn't
like,
believe that. That's why I hit you up. I'm like, have you watched qualifying? I was like already knowing that this is about to be an insane race.
and then, like, I'm spamming you with messages about it. This is not how I wanted this to happen. And then I watched the race, which I want to point out. I will put up the footage. Roll that beautiful drone footage. I have to. We'll get to this in the big question, but I want to say one thing. Even though this track is probably a crime against humanity on some level, I've got to commend the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the most ethically defensible use of drones in the history of the Middle East.
I didn't even know those were drones until you told me.
It's like what's with the fucking drones?
They're like, how do we be more cutting edge? How do we be more cool? Let's have a totally unnecessary
drone
orchestra
display
of like 1,000 drones in the air.
Like, how much you want to bet, like, right after the camera cut away from those, they all turned into, like, this giant constellation of MBS's face. Like, you know that, like, that shit doesn't happen in that part of the world without being used for some kind of, like, nationalistic or fucking just weird purpose. And yeah, I really do think that that's probably what happened. It's just we didn't get to see it because, F1's like, let's not do that. Let's not show the drones that are in the...
Like, maybe that's too much. Maybe not. However, let's also say that the track came out looking quite amazing. Not only the way it looked, like the aesthetic of the track and the lights and everything, but the speed, the corners. The track is pretty insane.
But yeah, I think I got to back George Russell on this one. He's the dude that got the rear end treatment from Nikita Mazepin. Yeah, that one. Yeah, Nikita Mazepin. We're coining that one right now. Yeah, just wait for the T-shirt. But yeah, it's like I think George Russell is right. There's so many fucking blind corners, and this track gets so tight in certain sections that, like, yeah, you can drive up on an accident, have no fucking clue it's there, even with, like, the best marshalling available, because these cars are going so fucking fast. If there's not changes, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, like, a driver's boycott next March. There weren't a lot of crashes, like bad ones, but you could definitely see, like, especially from, the Nikita George Russell crash, shit could have been a lot worse. And, like, there was a huge crash in F2 too. So it's like there needs to be some tweaks. It's a dope ass war crime or crime against humanity, whatever, but the race was awesome for all of its fucking weirdness. Trust me, we'll get to all of it by the end, but let's get into the first storyline. Should this race have even fucking happened? Because I think they finished the track like 2 days before the race weekend started.
Insane.
Again, we're going to get into it in the big question, but like, it's like, how did they have time to test this? How did they have time to make sure that it was safe? We had multiple instances this weekend of debris on the track, which needed to have like a virtual safety car, which I would argue virtual safety cars are the fucking worst thing in F1 because for like new fans watching, like luckily we haven't seen a lot of them this year, but it's just like, well, why are they driving slow? Oh, there's a virtual safety car. Well, what's that? Oh, well, it's like the process you need to explain it is difficult enough that you can hear the announcers have issues like getting through that. Like, it's like, then why not just send out a safety car if that's just simpler and safer? It's like the FIA definitely had their hands full this weekend and they did not do a good job.
For one, it seemed like everybody was favoring Lewis Hamilton on every single race incident that happened.
I mean, yeah. We can agree on that. Every
Ordered to give up the position 3 times, hit with a 5-second penalty. All of this. Something else happened to Max. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I guess we can move on to our next storyline, which is Mercedes favoritism. It's like Valtteri gets away with the whole 10 place, like, 10 car length, like backing everything up under the safety car, getting way too far behind Lewis to give them enough time to double stack under the safety car,
Mm-hmm.
which then they got pissed because then after it was red flagged, Max got to change tires, which I'm like, why send him out on the mediums? You're 16 laps into the race. You really think that you're going to be able to make that last that long?
Not smart.
I mean, I know like what they were probably hoping was that they were going to get another safety car or another red flag before the end of the race, and that was going to be where they would switch to the soft compound tires and get him back out there on fresh rubber. But you also have to play the wager of with the less cars on the track, there's less opportunity for people to crash. So switch to the hard tires next time, Red Bull. Don't make the stupid mistake of trying to make him go out there on mediums and go to the end of the race on lap 16.
That was a weird decision.
It's like Red Bull fucked their strategy. Mercedes fucked theirs by giving up track position under safety car. And then it's just like, I don't get how the rules aren't applied evenly.
Yes.
Because there was multiple times going into turn one where it was like, oh, where Max took evasive action, got pushed off, and was like, oh, after Brazil, this is how we're going to do it. If you push somebody off, that's a 5-second penalty.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, now that everybody's pushing that boundary as far as they can, they're not fucking doing anything. Or when they do something, it's after it's already been done to that person once, then they have the opportunity to do it back to the person that did it to them. It's fucking stupid. You're fucking Formula One drivers, not kids playing around in a goddamn playground. Which then
definitely some favoritism.
It feels like, yeah, it definitely feels like there's some favoritism. Or it's the other idea that I brought up before the podcast, where whoever's in charge of Drive to Survive at the beginning of this season inserted a mole into the FIA race weekend team. And they've finally gotten Michael Massey. They've turned him as an asset. They are using him in order to make the championship as dramatic as possible. They got to get those ratings. Those subscriptions have got to go up. They've got to convince Taylor to finally watch the goddamn show. So they've infiltrated the FIA, and they're basically just skewing the rules to favor whoever they have to in order to ensure the most dramatic outcome. I'm not gonna lie. I like that. I like that option a little bit better because it basically means that Michael Massey isn't as stupid as he sounds. Because the next question here is Michael Massey going to keep his job in 2022? And I'm at this point I have a lot of questions as to whether or not that feels like a no right now. Because you're going to have Christian Horner and Toto Wolff, all the Red Bull people, all the Mercedes people, just get rid of Massey. That's all they're going to be screaming about all summer or all winter break. I'm sure that all of them go down to like Southern Hemisphere. They all go kick it with Danny Rick down in Australia during the winter to chill out after. They want to go where it's summer, not. They don't want to go like to the Alps. They want to go down to Australia, have fun.
I mean, I would.
Well, that's because you're a bitch and you can't handle cold weather.
And you're a bitch. You can't handle hot weather.
One last thing I want to talk about before we get into the question that I cut out of a different episode. We got Frank Williams, the founder of
R.I.P.
the Williams F1 team. He died last week. We are behind in paying our tributes to the fastest man on four wheels.
Legend.
I just want to know, did Frank Williams ever deck out his motorized wheelchair? Like, how fast did that thing go? Because his favorite line, which was on top of the halo for both Williams cars this weekend, was "I've got the need for speed."
The need for speed.
So his wheelchair had some zip on it.
It was the faster one of all of them.
I also want to point out my dad's in a wheelchair, so I'm allowed to make these jokes. Because, There have been times where I've gone with my dad to get his wheelchair serviced, and my dad and I have raced around the wheelchair store. I bet Frank Williams was like racing by people with golf carts. Like, he had the like 40-mile-an-hour wheelchair.
Like those dudes that hack them in DC and they're just flying through traffic on the motorized wheelchairs. It's amazing. I don't know how they get them so fast. Yeah, for sure.
R.I.P. Frank Williams. You were a fucking legend. You didn't let a fucking spinal injury slow you down at all, and you held on to your team for probably way longer than anyone had ever expected. And you won a lot while you did it. So, bravo.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. Let's move on to this week's big question. Bud, it's the human rights triple. We're 2 races in. Has it delivered?
It's a little weird still. Unexpectedly, in a way, it delivered with the Saudi Arabia race. Does that make up for everything of the weirdness and the question of why it should even be happening in the first place? No. But it's a pleasant little surprise, I guess.
It's like I said, it's a crime against humanity, but it's a dope ass crime against humanity. Like, I hate to say it, but it's like, yeah, it very much accomplished its job, but I do definitely still feel weird. They finished the track 2 days before this weekend started. Like, how do you think they got that done? They weren't using labor that had any say in it. It's like, I'm sorry. Like, there's no way you could have got that done hiring everybody and making it legit.
Literally working 24/7.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we have to really be honest about like whether or not F1 should be doing business in these places.
That's what brings me to say that it's weird. It doesn't really make sense other than it's all about the money.
Boom, boom, and out. Yeah,
yeah.
When they asked what's the reason behind doing business with 3 countries who are just extremely guilty of sports washing, just pull out the ghetto blaster, pop in the tape, press play, boom, boom, yeah. It's like, it's bad. It's so bad. It's like, as Americans, I feel like on a certain level, we need to apologize for Liberty Media and their bullshit. Like, their willingness to just say, oh, okay, yeah, we don't give a shit about what you've done. We don't give a shit about the wars you've started or the wars you kept going. Like,
the way you treat your people.
You know, as long as you can cut that check.
As long as we get that bottom line, let us play ball, baby.
Yeah, it's a problem. I think we as F1 fans at this point have a responsibility to say, okay, like, yeah, was the race this weekend probably the craziest one that we'll see in a long time? Yes. But was it done safely? Was it done legally? And was it done ethically? I think
we'll never have that answer, but I think we know
we know that the answer to all of those questions is probably no. And we have the responsibility at this point to say, hey, we don't want these kind of things in the sport that we love. You have Lewis, like, as much as the LHT 1000 has pissed us off throughout this season, I've got to say, it took a lot of balls to roll through the Middle East with the rainbow flag on your helmet.
Oh, I did see that. That was quite funny.
You know, that's very much an FU to the Middle Eastern establishment that we can get behind. Not as cool as fucking Sebastian Vettel organizing a karting race for women in Saudi Arabia. Go Seb.
Really?
Like,
that's hilarious.
They're not like their driving privileges. I think they got them, but I think they're like heavily restricted. But Seb's just like, fuck it. Fuck you, MBS. Come after me, Mr. Bonesaw. I'll organize a kart race for girls in Saudi Arabia. Like, that's some shit. But, you know, I got to give you credit because, you know, the rainbow flag is still a pretty big fuck you in that part of the world. So, yeah, I think we as F1 fans need to start making our voices heard a little bit more about this and say, like, hey, this ain't what we want. If you want to let a country sports wash their image, be transparent about it. And also let the Americans get a third race. Fuck it. Like, if it comes to like the overall history of war crimes, we're up there. We got some things to sports wash. Give us another race in Indianapolis. It's probably a really bad point to make, and I might end up cutting that out, but whatever. All right. So, our next race, the final race of the season.
Abu Dhabi.
Yep. We will see you guys for the preview. Leave a comment. Who do you think is going to win the Predictors Championship? Is it going to be me, Raveheart Racing? Am I going to make my comeback after leading for most of the season? Am I going to pull a Lewis Hamilton and take the lead at the end? Or
are we
the
both
young
going to take each other out?
Yeah.
Crash and I win by default. Oh, it's like a microcosm for the real race. This is great.
I'm now legitimately terrified that we're going to end up with the exact same score, and I haven't built in an idea for how to solve this.
Oh goodness, we better not. That'd be unreal.
I know how we'll break the tie. If we tie, I will come out to LA. We'll go kart racing, and whoever wins, they are the Predictors champion.
That works.
Come on, we shake on it.
Finally.
We're gonna have to hope we tie. I'm not gonna lie. All right. So yes, our next race, Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Sunday, December 12th. We will see you guys for the preview in a couple of days. But I have been Raveheart. He has been my co-host, Taylor Surreal. We will see you guys on the next edition of Max Mosley's Flying Circus. Adios, everybody.